The damaged vehicle policy claims another victim, this time playoff driver Ryan Blaney. So we'll take a look at whether or not it might need to be changed or tweaked in the future. And Ty Norris is going to a new place. So let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, second time filming this, because the first time it was just going to be about the damaged vehicle policy. But while I was making it, Ty Norris announced that he is going to go to another team. So let me get to the damaged vehicle policy stuff first, and then we will jump into that huge bombshell from Ty Norris.
Yeah, at least let us look at it. They're going to make the judgment on how it is and tow you back to the garage and don't even let you get a chance to look at it on pit road and fix it. Like, that's not right. They said because I couldn't drive it back, they take you to the garage. Well, you can't drive back on 4 flat tires and they take you to the pit box, so where's the rule?
So you see the comments there from Ryan Blaney. In case you didn't see what happened in the race, he made some very minor contact in an accident, and it did break the steering arm on one of the sides of his cars, and it was towed back to the garage. And what he's complaining about there is cars have been towed back to the garage before for having 4 flat tires, and then teams have been able to work on them, but it's up to NASCAR's discretion. And this time NASCAR decided that without letting the team even look at it to see whether or not it could fix it and get it back on the racetrack, that Ryan Blaney was out of the race, whereas those cars with 4 flat tires have been allowed to continue. And I think he brings up a pretty good point. It is a bit of a gray area here. When a car gets towed back, it is up to NASCAR's discretion. And not only that, but you've only got 3 races in the playoffs to make up some points. And then there's the damaged vehicle policy itself. I'm going to get to a few other people's opinions, then I'm going to give my opinions on it. But let's take a look here from the News and Observer and Alex Harrington, who also writes for Newsweek, who has Dale Jr.'s thoughts on the matter. With the current rule, there is also no need for elaborate crash carts and overloaded haulers full of parts and pieces. I do think there is a middle ground, he stated. The clock has teams rushing repairs and sending cars back on the track in dire need of more repairs. So I think that encapsulates everything sort of good and bad about the DVP. On the one side, you don't have to carry all these, basically a full other car worth of parts in your hauler when you're on the road, which saves fuel, saves parts, components, and things like that. Even saves guys to an extent, because you have to have some specialist there for sort of crash repair and stuff like that. So it does save you some money from that side. But on the other side, do we really need a timer on it? The timer makes them rush these repairs, and for me personally, it puts the people repairing the car, it puts them in a dangerous situation because they might be cutting corners to get certain repairs on the car done. Puts the driver in a dangerous situation because the repairs are not being made properly. And it's just overall, like, do we really need to put a timer on fixing a car? Just let them fix the car. If they can fix it and get it back out there, let them get it back out there. NASCAR can oversee whether or not the car was fixed properly. And if NASCAR deems the car was fixed properly, it can go back out there. If the car is not fixed properly, then NASCAR says, you know what? You can't go back out there, and that will reduce the parts and pieces flying off, which is what NASCAR put the damaged vehicle policy in to begin with. But with the timer on there, more parts and pieces are going to fly off because they're trying to rush these jobs. So I think in spite of its best efforts, NASCAR has missed it a little bit. That being said, Bob Pockrass had some thoughts on it, so let's take a look at what he had to say as well.
Right ruling. His car was stopped on the track after a crash. He's out of the race. But is that the way it should be? No, it shouldn't be that way, especially in the playoffs, especially when these drivers who have worked all year are now stuck in these 3 race rounds to try to have to prove something, to try to have to do something, to try to have to earn points or wins. And you're going to take it all away after a first lap crash, especially at a road course where things tend to get jumbled up. Yes, he could have qualified better, and part of it is his fault, but man, I just think that it stunk for him. And I'm not really big on, hey, let's just change the rules because, at this one instance, somebody got the raw end of the deal. But you think about Martin Truex Jr., he had the same issue in the past. Let him at least look at the car. Let him at least see if they can change it. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Bob, something will fall off a damaged vehicle in the playoffs and cause a caution. Well, I think you saw today that playoff drivers can cause cautions, plenty of them on their own.
So yeah, Bob Pockrass doesn't necessarily very often speak out against NASCAR, and he's not necessarily speaking out against them here, but I think he makes very good, solid points here that, A, Ryan Blaney did get a raw deal here because they possibly could have got that car fixed and back out on the racetrack, and he is a playoff driver. He could have picked up multiple spots instead of finishing dead last in this race because of kind of an arbitrary rule that NASCAR decided to make for parts and pieces flying off cars like that was this big, huge thing that was going on, but it really wasn't this big, huge thing that was going on. And the damaged vehicle policy kind of makes parts and pieces fly off because guys are rushing. So did you really solve anything with the rule? He also makes a good point that, oh, just because it happened to Ryan Blaney, people are talking about it. But he also made the point that it's happened to Martin Truex Jr. and other playoff drivers in the past. So maybe, if nothing else, NASCAR takes a look at the rule and maybe tweaks it for playoff drivers going forward. And I would even be okay with that because the playoffs are a relatively new thing to the sport, where the sport's been around for 75, 76 years now. The playoffs are relatively new to all of that. So with the playoffs, you have to make some certain concessions because NASCAR wants to have this playoffs to sell to TV partners in the future. So with this deal, you have to look at some of your rules for the regular season, and maybe they need to be different for the playoffs because the playoffs are a different entity from the regular season. If you've only got 3 races to advance to the next round, and you're not allowed to race because of something, just a freak accident, really, I don't know, not even having a chance to repair the car, whereas otherwise you would be able to repair the car. It is an interesting gray area to take a look at, I think. And one more thing on a side note before I get to the Ty Norris deal. Another rule that I saw in the road course deal was when the 10th car goes across the line, the field is frozen for the stage breaks, and that ruined a perfectly good race for the lucky dog between Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. I think going forward, maybe just let all the cars go across the finish line before you call the caution to end the stage. That would have been a significant race for the lucky dog if Kyle Busch had gotten in front of Denny Hamlin, who was a playoff driver. Denny Hamlin ended up getting the lucky dog twice in that race. If Kyle Busch had been able to get in front of him and hold him back there, that would have had significant implications on the playoffs. So that would have been a race that we could have watched before the stage completely ended when the 10th car rolled across the line. So maybe NASCAR takes a look at that, at least for the road courses, on the when the stages actually end, which is neither here nor there, but I think maybe you can tweak that as well. NASCAR rules getting more scrutiny this year than any other year. Just been a sort of a lot of weird things have happened for the rules to be under a lot more scrutiny than normal, and I'm here for it. All right, here we go. Bombshell of the day from Jordan Bianchi. Trackhouse Racing president Ty Norris has amicably left the team, sources tell The Athletic. Hearing Norris may be headed to Kaulig Racing in an unknown capacity. That is a huge move. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, had that on their silly season radar. Ty Norris is a huge asset, a huge commodity, one of the biggest players as far as head office type stuff you can be in NASCAR. And in case you're unaware, he was with DEI when DEI was good from 96 to 2004. Then he was with Speedway Motorsports. Then he went to Michael Waltrip Racing. He made when he was there at Michael Waltrip Racing, Michael Waltrip Racing was a really good race team. Then the Spire happened. Then the scandal happened and all that stuff. Then he was with Spire Sports and Entertainment from 2015 to 2021. Then he went over there to Trackhouse. And you can see they've Wikipedia undefeated. They've already updated it. And I can just go ahead and tell you from what I'm hearing, it's 100% accurate too. Ty Norris is going to go to Kaulig. But you see each one of those stops, for the most part, I mean, you can, maybe exclude Spire there. But the rest of those stops that he's been at, those teams have significantly improved when he was there versus when he was not there. And he's one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, that Trackhouse has been able to do the things that they have been able to do. He is one of the best executives in the business, in the game. But I want to go back to that tweet from Jordan Bianchi where he says it was an amicable split. It's none of my business, but I'm hearing completely different. I'm hearing it was not an amicable split. Hence, it happened at this point in the season. And hence, you're getting rid of Ty Norris. So it doesn't really seem like an amicable split from what I'm hearing. But that's none of my business. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on the race car side of it. And for Kaulig, you're getting a known commodity. You're getting Ty Norris, the Ty Norris that is known for building up DEI, the Ty Norris that is known for building up Trackhouse, the Ty Norris that is known for building up Michael Waltrip Racing pre-scandal before everything went to pieces over there. So he has a winning track record. All the teams, for the most part, that he's been associated with have been winners or at least have gone in an upward trajectory since he joined them, including Spire, who went from a start and park team that was taking sponsor money to stay afloat to a team that was completing races and would occasionally run for a top 10 at a super speedway or some, have some other good top 15s in there from time to time. Now coming over to a Kaulig team that has in recent years, definitely had a super struggle. Since they've really been in Cup, they've had a struggle. They've had some moments here and there, some road course wins with A.J. Allmendinger. SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, has raced for him. He almost got him a win this weekend. So at road courses, their road course game is unmatched. Like, you have to go through them to win road course races. There's no doubt about that. However, it is every other track that they have not had a lot of speed at. So bringing in Ty Norris, getting some business deals and things like that, he knows what people to put in place where, quite possibly, to get this thing righted, to get this ship going in the right direction. Working there, I'm sure, with Chris Rice and, of course, Matt Collig. So huge pickup for Collig. Now let's go to the Trackhouse side of things. Trackhouse, one of the hottest teams in the sport. They have got a driver lineup that is second to none. I think all of the guys that they have got signed are definitely really, really good drivers. And at some point, push is going to come to shove, and one of those drivers is going to have to get replaced for Connor Zilic. A lot of people pointing fingers at Daniel Suarez, but that's beside the point. But that being said, Ty Norris was a huge part in building all that, and so now you have to replace Ty Norris in what seems like a last-second move, whatever happened. I know they said it was amicably, but I don't know. This seems like a last-second deal that just sort of happened out of the blue, and now you have to replace Ty Norris. And when you look around, who can you really replace Ty Norris with? Because a guy with a track record like that, there are only a handful of other people, and those other people are already working in the positions that they're working in, and I don't think that they're going to jump ship or go anywhere else. So Trackhouse really in a situation where you have a guy that is sort of a once-in-a-lifetime type of guy as far as what he does, and now how are you going to replace him? That's why I don't know if I necessarily believe the amicable part of it, but we'll go with it for now. But yeah, was not expecting that. This is my second time having to make this video, because I made the first video and then I was like, that happened. And I was like, now I've got to redo all this. So yeah, I just didn't have that on my bingo card. Anyway, that's all I got for you on this one. We're gonna do the live stream here tonight at 8 p.m. So if you want to check that out, join us there. Otherwise, would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate you all as well. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I try to get to as many of them as I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.